Welcome back to the Dynasty Rewind, everybody. I'm your host, Michael Bauer. Joining me, like always, we got Pork Man hauling that water every day. How you doing today, Pork?
Freaking heavy water. I'm doing good today. It's a hot one, but I was able to get through the day. I'm happy to be with you guys and happy to see my boy Nate. Nate's back.
I'm back.
A little bit. Yeah. So welcome back, Nate Christian. How you doing, Nate?
I am just glad to be back. Had a work trip, had vacation, and I was excited to get back last week, but then I was sick. So it's about time. I'm starting to get really excited about fantasy football. With Scott Fishbowl draft going on, getting back into podcasting, OTAs and training camp. Everything's starting back up, looking good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is kind of the lull right now, but then within a few weeks, it's going to start picking up. Chef, how you doing tonight? Good to see you again.
Doing good, man. The Suns are playing in the finals. Wish I could have gone, but those tickets are ridiculous. Glad to be back with you guys, though, man. Scott Fishbowl's going great. I made 3 picks so far. It's awesome. Let's go.
I think I made 4, so pretty happy. You know, it's not bad. Most of the people in my conference, I'll say, are pre-selecting their picks. So, you know, we just get like a nice big chunk, like 5-6 picks right in a row. We got Dustin Lund from Drinking and Talking Fantasy saying go Bucks. So sorry, I'm going for the Suns personally. That's who I'm cheering for.
Same.
I don't really have much of a rooting interest in basketball. Our rewind intern checking in. Sean, how you doing, Sean? So tonight we're going to be talking about some startup strategy. You know, this kind of correlates too with here we go. Okay, so Bob is telling me to keep the banter to a minimum. But he's saying it's a shame the Suns are going to lose to the Bucks.
Talking about another sport, Bob.
It's unbelievable.
Way to stay on topic, Bob. Seriously.
Wow.
It's a shame.
Oh, Bob, we need to do a Patreon episode soon for the defense stuff, maybe Thursday. So hopefully you will come over on over to patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind and check it out. So, Bob, do that. But let's talk about startup strategy. It's startup season. You know, your rookie drafts have already happened in your long-standing dynasty leagues. You got that itch. Find 11 randos on Twitter and you want to start a league. Always highly recommended. So, let's talk about startup strategy here. Do you guys have anything that you like to think about beforehand? I mean, you can't always pick your draft position. Do you guys have a preferred draft spot? Anybody?
I like the back. I like the back end, especially for Scott Fishbowl with the 3rd round reversal. I love that. But in just regular drafts, I like 10 through 12.
Okay. Yeah, I was excited because I thought I had pick 11 in SFB. Chev and I were talking about strategy, and it turns out I have the 9th pick. But I do like the back end of the draft as well. Chev, Pork, what about you guys?
Yeah, I like the back end as well, especially like Nate was saying with that 3rd round reversal. You don't realize it until I was doing the mock. I was like, oh, shoot, I can actually get a good value here at a quarterback if you decide to go different positions early.
I'm going to be curious to see out of, you know, whoever wins the whole tournament, what their draft spot was. Because I want to know if that 3rd round reversal is going to play a pivotal role in it.
I think it's an advantage. I've heard people say that it's something that, you know, makes it more fair, and I think there might be research behind it. But, man, I feel like I have an advantage because I had the 12th spot. So, you know, I got the 12th and 13th pick, and then I got the 25th pick. I got 3 picks in the first 25.
Right.
I feel really good about that. I mean, and if we were doing like a Dynasty Startup, like Superflex Dynasty Startup, you could double dip on quarterbacks at 12 and 13. And then at the 301, if you were doing a 3rd round reversal, like go ahead and grab like a stud running back still. Like there's just a lot of value there at the beginning of the 3rd round.
Yeah, and I think the reversal is a huge factor to why we all picked later in the draft too, man. I mean, if you can go I got Alvin Kamara and Derrick Henry, and then I can pair him up with Tom Brady in that kind of setting. It's ridiculous that you're able to do that. I think like the 9 to 10 might be able to play a bigger factor than honestly at the 11 and 12. I think it helps them a little bit better too.
Yeah, I don't know. I do like the back end of the draft, like I was saying. Sorry, I'm trying to keep track of this over here.
Keep track of the time. 6 minutes, Mike.
Yeah, 6 minutes. We're still good.
Hey, Nate, no, look, I'm looking at the time. I can see it now.
So one thing I will say about SFB is it kind of goes against everything that Dynasty players are all about. There's no draft pick trading. There's no trading of players in season. But the good thing is during a startup draft, you could do that. Do you guys like to move up or do you like to move back? Personally, I'm a guy that, I think I could draft well enough where I could find value pretty much anywhere. I prefer to trade back and not trade up. Do you guys feel the same way? But if you do trade up, do you have a certain time? I know Shane Manila is a guy who likes to trade up, and have multiple first-round picks, especially in a super flex league, and then hammer out, his stud quarterbacks early. Then he drafts for value later, and he'll trade later on to fill holes in his roster. And if he's good enough to do that, definitely check him out on Dynasty Trades HQ. Do you guys do anything similar to that? You just I would like to trade back like me.
I like to trade back usually.
I'm one of the worst traders in startups. I'm gonna throw that out there now. I'm gonna back up. You guys take over.
No, you can go, Nate. Because I know you like to trade back.
Yeah, I love trading back for value. I'd like to move out of the first round usually. Try to get like a couple, maybe have. I think I've done it before. I've had like 7 picks in the first 4 rounds or something like that, and I feel like there's a ton of value right there. I wouldn't hate trading up, especially in a super flex league. You could pound the 2 quarterbacks. Get like 2 really good guys, and then maybe if you can get like 3 picks in the first 2 rounds, and then draft like a stud running back to go with 2 really good quarterbacks. There's so much wide receiver value later. I don't mind missing out on the 3rd, 4th round to get those stud wide receivers, because you can just pick up wide receivers for days, the mid rounds of the draft. So if you can trade up and get stud running backs and quarterbacks, and that hurts your wide receivers, I don't think that's a big deal. I do like to trade back though, because I think there's a ton of value in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round.
I agree. Couple comments here. David Ibrahim, he's at Fantasy Go. He said he's got the 109 in Scott Fishbowl like I do. He went Saquon, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, and Kyle Pitts. He immediately regrets not grabbing a good tight end and good quarterback early. Completely understandable there.
It's a long time to wait for a quarterback in that score.
It gets really thin.
I also want to say that I
round
think people, they're just blowing Kyle Pitts' value for redraft this year just a little too high for me, a little too rich for my taste.
I'll put that in the chat. I can't get behind that at all, because it's like he's a rookie. Everybody was super high on Hawkinson when he came out. I think he went 7th overall. They thought he was going to go wild. He had the same hype, and then first year he was not. I'm not gonna say he was trash, but he didn't play well at all, because he still got to get used to getting hit by 3,000-pound defensive ends coming at you fast as hell. So I'm not saying Pitts isn't it, but he'll get there. Just I don't think it's going to be as fast as people think.
You're saying he's got to earn his stripes.
He has to, because he's going to get hit in the mouth.
We have a comment here from Facebook user. Sorry, the name's not popping up. How do you feel about drafting quarterbacks in the first round? If it's super flex, I'm fine with it. One QB, probably not.
Better.
It all depends on the format and scoring too. Always be aware of your league settings.
In super flex leagues, all about quarterback, because I feel like there's a large drop off, especially for Dynasty, especially there's a large drop off after the first 10, 12 guys. Mm-hmm. There's some value later. I think Tannehill and Cousins are decent value, Derek Carr even, but Cousins and Carr, I'm a little worried about a year or 2 from now what their Dynasty outlook looks like. And when you have a guy like Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Dak or Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, those guys are such game changers in super flex leagues that having one of those guys is such an advantage, because you can't pick up a stud quarterback off the waiver wire. You can find every now and then a guy like Myles Gaskin or James Robinson at running back, or you can find a random wide receivers and tight ends, but you can't get good quarterbacks off the waiver wire. You got to invest there early and often, and then take the value the rest of the way.
Yep, so I agree totally.
Here's a good comment here. This is from David Ibrahim again, and I got a great answer for this already. Given the tight end premium in Scott Fishbowl, what are your thoughts about drafting backup tight ends? The way I draft backups or handcuffs, if you will, I actually use J.J. Zacharyason's theory on that. I draft somebody else's backup. So I don't like to clog my roster. Like if I have Zeke, I probably won't draft Tony Pollard. I'll probably draft Alexander Madison, try to grab somebody else's backup, or I'd almost rather not. And if my tight end gets hurt, I'm just going to play the waiver wire, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, just real quick, Chef, do you want to take Tunyon and Jay Sternberger, or do you want to take Tunyon and play a startable wide receiver? Sorry.
It's easier to do in Scott Fishbowl if you want to get the backups, because you can't trade for the other person's backup, right, if they go down. Right. So I think it's a lot easier to do in Scott Fish. It's definitely not as reasonable to do, I think, in like redraft or dynasty and whatnot. I mean, Tony Pollard's a great running back. If Zeke goes down, that's awesome. But Zeke's been ridiculously healthy, and he's not been somebody that's been taken out of the game very often. So he can do it all, and it's hard for Tony Pollard to get enough snaps to produce enough for you to justify it.
Yeah, and mostly with the backup tight ends, they're not going to get drafted anyway, so you got to probably pick them up off of waivers during the year. So you just got to pay attention to that as well.
Here's another comment too from Facebook user again: is Wentz a high draft pick in your opinion? Being reunited with Coach Frank, I think he's going to outplay his ADP, but I don't think you need to spend a high draft pick on him.
I don't think it's a high pick.
No, I don't think it's a high pick.
No.
Are they going to have SFB ADP when this is all said and done? Do you guys know?
I think they do.
Okay.
When everything is all done, I think everything pops up.
I'm going to be curious to see that. So when you now, there's a lot of times you have a strategy going in and it gets just shot to hell real quick. This always happens in a draft. Happens in a mock draft too. Do you generally like to go young? Do you like to go old and try to win now? I like to try to kind of do like more of a hybrid team where you have a good influx of youth, but you also have some vets that can help you win now. How do you guys normally attack that? Chev, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I would say you're honestly trying to attack the youth, in my opinion. I love getting young players and letting them kind of grow on my roster rather than grabbing a Julio Jones who may be there for the next 2 seasons and he fades out and I have no value to trade for him. Now, if I get somebody like a Terry McLaurin, if I drafted him, his value has grown over time and I'm able to actually trade him away rather than losing the asset and not getting anything back. I think it's also important too, whenever maybe your plan blows up, your league mates play favorites with the players that they really, really like. And sometimes I have benefited from just drafting. We have Cardinals fans in Arizona. I got in a league and I drafted like Kenyon Drake and I traded him for a ridiculous price just because they were Arizona Cardinals fan. So I think knowing your league mates during that draft process as well, knowing how much they will actually pay up to get their guy, I think it's huge, especially if your plan gets blown up.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like to go pretty youth with my Dynasty Startups because, I want to win now. Like, I'm not going to draft all rookies and sophomores. I'm going to grab, like, Keenan Allen. I'm going to grab, guys that are a little bit older. I think quarterback, too, there's value there with older quarterbacks. People are trying to get all the rookies, but quarterbacks play for so long. You grab Ryan Tannehill. He could play another 8 years, Tom Brady, he could play another 3 years at least. You never know. So, like, you got to grab these guys. The veterans are good value there. But I'm not looking to – I agree with Chev. Like, I'm not looking to grab, like, Julio Jones usually in a startup. Like, I don't mind trading for him, like, in an already established team, but I'm usually not drafting that kind of guy because Dynasty moves quickly. It's – you think redraft's all about what have you done for me lately, and you're like, oh, Dynasty's more long-term, bigger picture, but it's not. It's what have you done for me lately? We get 3 weeks into the season, and if Antonio Gibson has only run for 100 yards, you can be able to get him real cheap. But if he's gone off for 300 yards in 3 games and a couple of touchdowns and receiving, he's going to be all of a sudden the top 12 running back for a lot of people. The youth moves really quickly. I just retweeted something, 2018 Dynasty first round ADP. Only 2 of those guys are even like relevant anymore. So, and the guys that were like sophomores and rookies that year. So, especially running back. Running back is a place you have to have youth because running backs, there's so much turnover. You can grab older wide receivers, older tight ends, older quarterbacks, but at running back, you have to have young guys because otherwise you're going to be searching for a new one next year.
It's hard to get them in the draft, too, because you better have a sucky team to get them because everybody's picking them. So that's the hard part about it.
Yeah, it is nuts. And it's like we look at running backs, like prime example, Todd Gurley. He's only, 25? He was freaking a beast 2-3 years ago, and all of a sudden he's gone. But we was chasing the youth. He was playing well, so you just got to pay attention to stuff like that. But I think people kind of pay attention to the age a little bit too much. And I like to win now. I don't care. Honestly, I don't care how old you are. If you can win me this year, I can figure it out next year. Like if he's trash, he's trash. I'll get rid of him and I'll figure it out from there. So like guys like Julio, I love Julio. I'll draft Julio because I think he's going to do well, especially in the system in Tennessee. I think, and especially with A.J. Brown and his messed up knees, he could be the wide receiver one on that team starting the season. And if he balls out, you can trade him to somebody who loves Julio Jones and still get good value for him. You can get a second rounder if you want, or if he's going ape crazy, you can get a first for somebody who really, really wants him if you're struggling with that team. But if you want to keep him, it can lead you to winning a league. So I like doing stuff like that. With running backs too, with startups, I like taking them guys early anyway, because we all know you can have Dalvin Cook. If he gets hurt, you don't have no other backs on your team. You got maybe some teams have 2-3 running backs on your team, and after that, you're just doo-doo. Like you're just trying to get in guys like I don't know. I really don't know. Come and think of it. D'Angelo pooper scooper. Like you don't have anybody on your team. So when you're stuck like what? I know. But that's what I'm saying. If you don't have a running back on your team, like build depth, get them guys that you need early, and do what Nate said, get them receivers because it's depth all over the league.
Yeah. Well, Nate was talking about value. Just look at, I brought up DLF's ADP, and this is for a Superflex startup. Okay. We're talking about guys that could be aging a little bit, or they're younger, but they've been in the league a few years. Dynasty players, as a consensus, they always seem to like the new thing, the shiny new toy, as they say. So I'm just going to go from 52 to 56, right? Check these guys out. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Allen Robinson, Michael Thomas, Terry McLaurin. We're talking about 5th round startup picks here. Okay. Keenan Allen, consistent. DJ Moore, super high ceiling. Allen Robinson has just battled poor quarterback play his entire career. Yes, they should. And he's been extremely consistent. Michael Thomas, slant guard Mike, Terry McLaurin. Everybody loves Scary Terry. So, when you're talking about trading back in a Dynasty League, this is where, and obviously you want to make sure that you have the correct resources too. ADP is super helpful. For me, when I'm doing startup drafts, I like DLF's ADP the best. Fantasy Pros has good ADP, but that's geared more towards redraft stuff. So I kind of stay away from that for anything startup related. Do you guys have any tips for continued success or long-term winning?
Well, I just want to say that when you do a startup, like you should build a winning team. You should be trying to win year one. There's so many people that I think go into a startup and they come up with a rebuild.
Yeah. There's a guy that I know does that a lot. Like he trades, he gets all first round picks for next year, and then his team comes out is freaking trash. But then he gets to a point where you need to know who's coming out the following year.
Is that guy me?
No, I see, Mike. I wasn't even talking about you this time. I was actually being nice. No, but I think the only reason for you to rebuild, if you want to do that, is if you're kind of playing Devy, like the Devy way. So you know who's coming out the next year or the next two after that. So oh guys, I want to get I can't think of that guy's name, but like if you like Slovis or something like that.
Yeah.
I wanna get this guy for next year because he's gonna be a beast, or get the other people. So
if you're playing a free league,
you want to do that, free league too. But if you want to do that, I'm perfectly fine with that if it's free, definitely. But if you're paying you really should know what you're doing, because now you're wasting your time and your money.
Yeah, I think if you're playing in a money league, I mean, you got to try to win every year, because if you win one year, you at least got your dues for like 6, 7, 8 years.
Core.
You can rebuild if you need to.
Because if you have a young running back, and if you get a young quarterback and a bomb receiver and a really good tight end, you're fine.
It's dangerous to think the way where I want to pick this guy. I want to make sure I get this guy, because he might not fall to you. You might get a draft pick that's not low enough to get that guy. Teams could be good. Nate builds great teams. If you get a first round from Nate, he's not going to get you a good first round pick. Like, it's just straight up. That's just straight up. Like, you can't be trading for people that are good in your league if you want to get good players. That's just my opinion, but you don't see success.
That's why Chef traded for all them draft picks in our listener league. And he got like 5,000 picks next year because he traded with.
Because I drafted Todd Gurley. I drafted Todd Gurley in my startup draft. Don't do that. Thanks, Garrett, for that first round pick, though. I appreciate it.
You know, in the NFL, you have teams that just stay bad. Sometimes in your dynasty leagues, you have teams that just stay bad.
And that's very true.
Do you guys do any like zero running back, zero wide receiver? I heard is a thing. Like, I know some people, they go draft wide receivers, trade for running backs.
No, you draft running backs and you trade for wide receivers.
Exactly.
But overall, in a startup draft, so that's how I feel in rookie drafts. Rookie drafts, unless you got some insane value dropping to you, running backs are great in the rookie draft because young running backs always go up in value. As long as they're a day 1, day 2 pick.
I mean, they gotta be good though.
Yeah, but they're all, even if they don't do anything this year, there's still a value next year. You can still get rid of them for a decent price. But with startup drafts, I never really have a set strategy going into it because I am a very much value-based drafter. I'm just scooping up whatever value is dropping me. If it's young guys, if it's old guys, it's not just off ADP. It's off my own rankings and how I feel. But, if guys are dropping, I'm taking them because there's no reason to limit yourself because you want to go zero running back or zero wide receiver or, you want to reach for, your 4th tight end in the 5th round, so you can have a monopoly, Or I've seen times that it gets you get a little too value based, and I see guys draft 8 quarterbacks. I mean, if you feel really confident about being able to trade all of them and do well, I mean, power to you. But most of the time, everyone looks at you and wow, you have 8 quarterbacks. We need quarterbacks, but we're not going to trade with you because you're going to ask to have a price.
Yeah, don't do that because then you're looking stupid because they never draft a trade. If you draft a trade, people aren't dumb. They're just going to leave them on your roster.
Yep.
And we're just going to do it.
It hurts you more than it helps them.
Exactly. I'll give you a 4 for it.
Do you guys have a position that you like to build around by chance? Or does that depend on the league that it is? If it's super flex, I'm sorry, real quick. David has 50 dynasty questions in here. Let's get these.
Great.
Okay, let's get these knocked out. Dynasty question. I would hope so, David. Would you prefer win now and trade away established players every year for draft picks or play for the future? I would like a mix of both.
I say you always play to win now, and if you get halfway through the season, and you got to be good at recognizing when your team's not going to make it. You start your team every year as a contender. If injuries happen and things happen where you're not a contender by week 5, week 6, start trading them away real quick. You got to start trading quick. You got to be the first one to trade away your players to contenders because once someone has traded their players to the contenders, those contenders don't have picks anymore to trade away. You can't be the 4th person to go into rebuild. You got to be the first person to go into a rebuild.
Because there's nothing like being stuck in the middle.
Then you churn.
Yeah, because then you're just okay, you're at that point, like you say, you're going to waste your money because you think in your mind you think you're a contender, but your team is really garbage. Make it work. Come to us. We can tell you if your team is. We're not going to tell you if your team is garbage, but
I will.
Tell you if your team needs some help.
No, I will.
No, so let's say tell me if the team needs some help and we can fix it so it can turn garbage to gold.
I'm going to tell you team's garbage. We're talking about winning now, but do you want to know the best way to win now? You have to answer that with a question. And what's the worst thing in fantasy football? Seeing a player you didn't start go off on your bench and costing you a win easily takes the cake, but But now there's a new way to play where your best players always start and your duds stay on the bench where they belong. Best Ball Eve. Why is it I always have to read weird read-throughs that involve balls? Underdog Fantasy has you covered. Underdog Fantasy is the new best ball platform where you can turn your knowledge and competitive edge into winnings. Draft once, sit back, and enjoy the ride as your optimal lineup will automatically start each week. No waivers, no trades, just draft. Sign up today using the code REWIND, and when you make a deposit, you receive a $25 kickback to play. Not ready for fantasy football? That's okay. They also have drafts and daily pick'ems right now featuring the MLB, NBA, and NHL. So join Underdog Fantasy today using promo code REWIND. Link is in the description of the video on YouTube, and you get $25 when you use that promo code too. So it's awesome. Yes.
I love that. I love that.
Thanks,
that
Parker. I saw your
platform.
comment. So next, David question. Thoughts on Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year and his potential as a running back one? Also, Mike, you should trade me Clyde Edwards-Helaire in our league. No to the last part. And I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire has a lot of potential. He could definitely be a running back one. I would like to go on note and say I did think that he would not be as good as advertised last year because of the way Andy Reid runs his system. And I was correct. He was still very good, though. I think he has a very bright future ahead of him. I think that sums it up. Yes.
You were asking about building around a position.
Yep, I was getting right back to that.
And before I would have said running back, because we talked about the turnover at the running back position. But now that I've gotten more into Devy and I'm looking ahead at the next classes, quarterback does not look good for the next couple of years. There's like 3-4 guys, but like we just had 5 guys go in the first round this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had 3 go in the first 10 picks last year. We've just had a very large influx of young talent at the quarterback position. Mm-hmm. There's only 32 teams, and there's some veterans who are a little bit older, but they're doing just fine. They still have plenty of years. Got a lot of young guys out there. I don't think there's a ton of quarterbacks coming up over the next 2-3 years. So there's always going to be some guys. I mean, there's going to be like at least 1 or 2 every draft. You know, next year we got Howell and we got Rattler, and then there's some guys who can pop up, but no one's out there that's like there's no Trevor Lawrence that's, you know, playing for 3 years and an absolute stud. There's no Justin Fields. There's no Andrew Luck out there. There's no Tua. You know, these guys that we're watching and we're like, that guy is an NFL quarterback. We just got to wait to draft him. We don't really have that right now. There's a lot of question marks out there. So I'm building around young quarterbacks right now because I don't know how much, you know, how many studs are coming into the league in the next couple of years. And I don't want to have to reach for quarterbacks in the draft because there's some really good running backs and really good wide receivers coming out. I would much rather spend my rookie picks on those guys and be set with a veteran quarterback than having to try to, you know, trade around and spot start and churn through quarterbacks right now.
So this is why even if you're not in a Devy league, Devy is still important to the long-term success of your just traditional Dynasty league because you need to know what's coming up. Also, I think Pork and I are on the same page. I don't think we're big Sam Howell fans, right?
Not even close. You that's weird. We had like mental telepathy. He said Sam Howell. I threw up in my mouth a little bit. I'm not a big fan of him. So.
I saw a couple mocks where they're mocking him to the Eagles at 8 next year.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
If you don't like Sam Howell, what other quarterback is there in Devy? I mean, you like Spencer Rattler? No,
not really.
I know you guys
not
don't.
Yet.
And then outside of that, the next year you got Bryce Young, who I do like Bryce Young at Alabama, but we haven't really seen him. And we got the guy for Clemson, DJ.
Yeah, I'm not saying his name.
But I mean, and that guy, you know, he's not a guy
he has an arm. He needs to work on his accuracy.
What about that kid from Nevada? I've been hearing some stuff.
Carson Strong.
Is he any good or?
He's a very traditional style quarterback. You know, he's a statue out there, but he's got a good arm. He seems to be, you know, pretty smart on the field, but I don't know. You know, it's statue quarterbacks don't usually go high. They're not great for fantasy. You know, Tom Brady's still doing well, so I'm not saying, you know, they can't do well for fantasy, but we're at a point in fantasy football where running quarterbacks have such an edge. And I don't think unless Carson Strong absolutely goes like Joe Burrow this year, I don't think he's a first-round pick. I don't think he's a guy that is going to be starting for an NFL team his first year. It might end up like a Jacob Eason. I think he's probably more similar to Jacob Eason than he is to Herbert.
Too soon, man.
Too soon.
Too soon. This is promising to be David's last question. In Dynasty, are you better off investing in running back, wide receiver, tight end, and streaming quarterback because of the value? Don't really stream quarterback. You don't really stream.
If it's one quarterback,
you can.
One quarterback, you can.
Yeah, but I'm just saying overall, Dynasty, you don't really stream players like you do in redraft as much, I feel.
Yeah, you can kind of stream them off your bench. You could, like, in one quarterback league, you could grab, like, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, and, I don't know, some other random third-tier quarterback. Drew Lock if he starts, and then just turn spot start whoever has a good matchup that week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There you go. Stream off your bench, David.
But why do you want to hold 3 quarterbacks in your one quarterback league?
Yeah, like me, I got too many.
Yeah, Port goes into the draft with 5 quarterbacks,
and then I draft one like an idiot. I did that draft pick like 3 a.m. I was like, yeah, I'll just take him. Go to sleep.
What do you guys do when you want to trade? Do you just throw it out there, or are you one of the people that you need to like foreplay with your trade opponent first? Like, hey, how you feeling about this? Blah, blah, blah. What? I'm making this really hard for Bob to cut up later. He's going to have to listen to this thing like 5 times. No, like, so one thing that this one guy in a league that I'm in does, it drives me insane. I'm a firm believer in I'm not going to send you a trade that I wouldn't accept or that I'm not comfortable with making. So if you get a trade offer from me, I'm good with it. You can just hit accept. You could just hit decline. I send it to you. I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? He likes to send screenshots. Like, what do you think of this? I think if you want something to happen, you need to send it and see what happens. But, like, do you guys just cold trade people, or do you put in, like, league chat, like, hey, looking to move up, looking to move back?
You don't want to trade with me.
No, I like.
You know who you don't want to trade with? You don't want to trade with Garrett.
Garrett Price
is terrible to trade with. I wanted a 2nd-round pick one time. Hey, what are you looking for with a 2nd-round pick? So I do it NFL style, which means I need a 1st-round pick for next year.
I think the story every other podcast.
Well, it's going to keep happening. I could tell you about when I beat him in a super flex league with no start.
I've never heard that one before.
So according to Sean, Chev hits the interested button, but then doesn't do anything.
You definitely do.
I don't have to send anything right now, though. What's the point? I can hit interested, let you know I'm there, baby. But I don't have to send nothing right now. And first off, I sent Sean a trade, and he said, no, that was too good of value, and he sent it back. He canceled it. So he's just too nice of a guy to trade with.
Yeah.
He is too nice of a guy to trade with, because I tried to trade with Sean, and he's like just so nice about it. I'm like, dang, I don't want to like fleece the guy. So I like him.
I do.
I'll fleece the other guy. I'm not gonna name any names.
Y'all need to stop, man.
So when you trade with me,
I like the What'd you say?
When you trade with me, I mean, it usually takes 3 weeks of sending counters back and forth. I mean, if there's not 15 counters, it's not worth trading.
You need to revise that. We went on a trade for
I don't send
bro.
offers because I don't want to send an offer and then it get accepted right away. I will feel so bad about it. I'm going to send you a low ball, and I want you to negotiate to me.
That's why
we negotiated Mark Andrews literally for like 14 months until we figured something out. We made it work, but
I'll make it work.
Yeah, but back to Mike's question, because we're devolving a little bit.
We can't do that.
I like to make trades with people that I have like a kind of relationship with, so I know they're not going to BS with me. Like if I'm going to make a trade with somebody who I know who's going to, not really even look at the trade that I'm trying to send, or he's just trying to get a tremendous amount of value with, I'm just not going to make a trade with them because it's a waste of my time. I'm going to go with a guy who I know that was, hey, I like this, and then we can just meet in the middle. Because if that doesn't work, then I'm just wasting my time over here trying to drive my truck and deliver my water. I'm looking at a trade, and this trade is crap. Like, don't send me this because I'm not gonna send you an offer back. So yeah, just try to find people that who actually value the players at the same level as you. Like me and Mike, when we first met, that's how me and Mike are best friends now because we made a great trade together.
I wouldn't say best friends.
Oh, see,
you're kind of my subordinate because I'm the host. So.
See, I think patience is key for me.
Yes.
I don't feel the need to trade. There are some people who really want to trade, and what I do is I just decline. No, decline. No, I want more. Decline. And then they get a little impatient. They're like, okay, well, what about this? I'm like, all right, that sounds good. Yeah. I can do that. But like, you do better. Hey, I do not need to trade. It's not like I'm bored and during the day I'm like, I have to trade. So I'm not trading just to trade. I'm trading to make my team better. I'm trading to get the players I want. And I will squeeze you until you feel the pressure and just fold.
No, he'll squeeze you till you pop. He's lying. Don't let him fool you there.
And listen, there's going to be times too where a trade's not going to work out. Like you might not have the assets on your team and your trade partner might not have the assets on their team. Don't try to make something happen just to make the trade work. The trade might not just be right for you and that other team, and that's just how it goes. And I also hate when you do get a trade done. Like, let's say Nate and I make a trade, and then Pork's going to DM me in a minute and go, I would have given you more for that. Well, did you send me an offer?
Right.
Don't be that I would give you more for somebody.
Even though I don't do that.
Girl. I know. I'm using you guys as examples. So let's go back to our show notes for the pod here. See what Bob's
also, I don't trade my first round picks away. Nope.
I
love rookies too much. I can't trade my first. I'll trade my second and third, all that, but not my first, man. It's better be a really good deal.
The only way I'm trading my first
move around in the first round.
Yeah, the only way I'm trading my first is if I want this guy and I'm gonna try to win the league at that time. But other than that, I'm not gonna do it. I did that last year and kind of backfired slightly, but at least I have him for this year.
So Bob wants to know how to evaluate players in Dynasty. I think on this show, if you listen, you pretty much know how we evaluate our players, especially rookies coming in.
Yeah, I mean, like as in players, as in vets as well. Because I think if we do the vets, it's pretty much like the grand scheme of things. We kind of have to just look at the whole team at that point. Even down to, like, in my opinion, like the offensive line too, even though it doesn't factor in the fantasy points, but it factors into the quarterback getting sacked. It factors into running backs getting yards in the trenches. So, I mean, I think you just have to look at the grand scheme of the whole team. Just like with the Eagles, Carson Wentz was getting clapped last year.
Jamon Brown
hit. Jamon Brown trying to fix his glove in the middle of the goddamn play. Freaking idiot. But and it killed them, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think he had such a bad of a year, because of psychology. If you drop back and you think you're going to get hit every time, you're most likely getting hit every time, but you don't know what you're going to do because you don't have a plan set in place. So you just have to, just think about everything for every team. I know it seems like a lot, but if you love fantasy and you love football like we do, you can kind of see how all that stuff goes.
Yeah,
forgive me. Sorry,
that's good stuff. On a team building thing, if it's a PPR league, after I have my 2 or 3 stud running backs that I'm investing in early, I'm grabbing all wide receivers after that, because after like the first 20 running backs, there's a big drop off. There's not guys you can just start every week. Yeah. Guys, you got to hope situation works out for them. So I want to get like 2 or 3 of those top 24, 25 running backs, and then I'm just grabbing so many wide receivers, because wide receivers score more points than running backs at that point. Your wide receiver 3 is scoring a lot more points than your running back 3. And as long as you have 2 or 3 flex spots, I'm trying to flex all wide receivers based on matchups, because those guys score more points. Those guys win me games, because I don't care if you have 5 running backs. If they're all scoring you at 12 points, they're running back 3 through 5 scoring you 12 points a game, but your wide receivers in PPR leagues are scoring 15, 16. I mean, I'm playing those guys. I'm trying to win each week. it's nice to have a lot of running backs, but if you're only starting, most lineups are like start 2 running backs, start 3 wide receivers, and then there's like 2 or 3 flexes.
Right.
At that point, you only need 2 running backs, 3 running backs just so you have a bye. But wide receivers in Dynasty, they hold their value, they score a lot of points. That after you break through those first couple running backs, it's wide receivers are the backbone of your team for Dynasty and for winning.
Yeah, I agree with that totally.
Someone's on the clock.
I think it's Chev because he just left for a second. No, but I totally agree with that, Nate. Because I like to get the so-called workhorse backs that it's not that many, but if you can get at least one of them, you're good, and get another one guy that's like in the committee, and you're good to go. But I have like a million receivers because the value is so good during the draft that you have to take them. You don't want to take like this example, like a Tariq Cohen over like a Marvin Jones or something like that, because Marvin Jones has that deep field upside that you want to take so you can get the touchdown. You're not really sure what Tariq's going to do, especially with David Montgomery taking the brunt of those carries this year, because he kind of did like a mini breakout at the second half of the season last year.
Yeah.
If looking at your draft position too, if it feels like a little bit of a reach, but you're in a startup and you have a long time until that draft comes back to you, but you want to get your guy, get your guy.
It's not a reach.
Yeah. If nobody wants to make a move, and you don't think you're going to get back in, feel people out in your draft too. If they're people that you don't know, I think it's really important. And this is why I really like in-person drafts. You can pick up on body language. If you know the people, who they're fans of, you could read the room. It's obviously a lot harder to do online. But this is one time where in the startup, I tell people to be active in the chat, which is really something that I live my life the complete opposite of. I'm not a big group chat guy. I just want to know who's like, hey, what we should do? We should take all these people and having separate conversations and make one big one out of it. It's great. So be active in the chat. Just put feelers out there in the room. Look at people's icons. See what teams they're a fan of. A lot of people on Sleeper or MFL, they set their favorite team as their avatar. So, if you have an Eagles fan, a Steelers fan, a Ravens fan, whatever, hey, maybe Nate would overpay a little bit more for J.K. Dobbins. Maybe Porkman would pay a little bit more for John Hightower. So, it's stuff like that you have to you got to think about stuff like that. It's all about, and I am a mechanic, but I work in sales too. I sell work to the customers. So you have to know the people that you're talking to. Speaking of which, Troy King checking in. What's up, Troy? How you doing today? Thank you for checking in.
Yeah, he would pay up for Tua. Like if I'm in a league with Troy, I know he's going to get guys like I know he'll get guys like Tua, or he might like the upside of a Will Fuller later in drafts. So I know
there's
something
there's somebody out there that I'm in a couple of leagues with that will pay up for DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
Matty Big Chest, he's got like 100% ownership of DeAndre Swift, and he'll give you like 3 first rounds for him.
See, favorite team avatar is bad. I've eaten way too much off that. So there you go. And hey, you want to talk about eating? It's SFB season. Check out this awesome shirt I got right here.
That's fire.
Yeah. So go on over to veridianglobal.com, pick up your SFB shirt, SFB gear. Everything goes to charity. All the SFB gear you buy, and then use the promo code REWINDER for 10% off any Dynasty Rewind merch, which you desperately need in your life. Let's see. Father's Day is gone, so Arbor Day is over. Labor Day. Yeah, there you go.
Labor Day. Did you say Arbor Day? What is Arbor Day? April.
Trees.
It's Tree Day.
Yeah.
I don't. We don't celebrate that one. I don't know that one.
Do you not like oxygen to breathe, Bill?
Yeah. I don't see that one on the calendar. If it's not on the calendar, I don't freaking celebrate it.
All right, let's start a petition that it's a federal holiday.
And a day off work. Oh, by the way, did you see that Iceland did a 4-year study where if you pay employees their same salary, but then only make them work 4 days a week, they're like crazy more productive.
Yep.
So
yeah, that's true.
We need that in the States. Just saying.
Wish.
Need that.
100%.
Yeah. You know what else you need in the United States? And it's already here. Fantasy Sports was created to give participants the GM experience of a sports franchise. And there goes Nate. But as fantasy sports became more mainstream with more accessibility to player information, it became more about who got lucky in the draft and who got to the waiver wire fast enough to pick up a player. Traditional fantasy sports lacks reality and rewards luck. It's not realistic to only focus on player performance and to not consider contracts. Pork. Do NFL teams assemble their rosters without contracts? Of course not. What if you could create a game that was more like the real NFL? Allow me to introduce you to DynastyOwner.com. Dynasty Owner incorporates a salary cap and assigns players their real-life NFL contracts. It is no longer all about player performance. Every contract matters. The 2021 season for Dynasty Owner has just begun. Actually started a few months ago. Where am I? And starting at $29, you can play a fantasy game that lets you face similar decisions that NFL general managers and owners face. Rookie drafts started June 4th, but startups will run between now and September 10th. So sign up to play with friends around the world and start your dynasty today at www.dynastyowner.com. Nate, please come on back and finish the podcast with us. We're about ready to roll up. Before we head out, any little nuggets on startup strategy that you guys want to throw out there?
I know we talked about when you know your team's ready to turn it all over, trade your players away and get all the draft picks. Don't go in and out of it. You're either all in on rebuilding or you're all in on winning. If you go back and forth in it, it's not going to be good for you and you'll be in the middle the rest of the time.
Like it. Nate, anything else?
I agree with Chev. You got to go all in or go all out. Be the first one to rebuild. I know sometimes you're like, man, I might be able to sneak in, and then once you sneak in, anything's possible. Look at the parity in your league. Is it a close league where everyone's about the same, or is there a couple favorites that are above the other teams? And if there are, and you're just not making it, sell those contending players off. Go ahead and stock up on those first round picks. Yeah, it sucks to lose the rest of the season, but you can do a quick turnaround in Dynasty if you got good draft picks in the first and grab young players. I mean, you can turn around a team pretty quickly if you go for it early. So, I think the most important thing, once you get past the startup, is just figuring out where your team is by week 5 of the season. If you're 0-5, you're not likely going to contend.
Right.
Yeah, but make sure you set that lineup though. Yeah, always still set your lineup, even if it's a bad lineup. You don't want to be that guy that just gives up. Stop setting lineups. Pork, any other little tasty startup nuggets that you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna kind of say what I said earlier. If you do decide to, blow up your team, and you want to get those picks, kind of have an idea of what those picks might be. Mm-hmm. If you think it's going to be a good running back draft, try to trade with the teams that you think is going to be bad or something like that, so you can get those good guys that you might want. Because if you trading with contenders, you wind up with the 111 and the 112, and the guys that you want, they won't be there. So just keep that in mind. Watch some college football, which I'm so glad is coming back, and I really hope they bring back NCAA football for video games. That would be awesome, because that would be good too. So
please,
yep.
I mean,
please,
I'll leave out on that. You said nuggets. That made me a little hungry.
Like I said before, just know your room. Try to get to know the people that you are drafting with. You know what I mean? Know them. Don't be afraid to say no to a trade. If somebody sends you a bad trade and then they spend the rest of the day explaining to you why it was a good trade and why you should have done it, good response is, if you wanted this guy so bad, you could have drafted him and you did not. Does anyone else have anything else to add before we head out?
Don't be a douche when you're trying to trade either. There's no reason to do that. If they don't want to trade, they don't want to trade. Don't be that guy in the league that gets his panties in a wad all the time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's for everybody.
Don't you have a guy like that in your league? It's just like, don't be a bully, because if you be a bully, somebody can talk to the commissioner and get you kicked out. You can go somewhere else. Like, don't be a dick.
Don't send me screenshots at 5:45 a.m. because I don't care at that time of the day. I just don't care. You know what I mean? I'm just getting up. So,
yep.
Chev, do you have a verse for us this evening by chance?
I do. All right, so it's going to be Galatians 5:13. It says, "You, my brothers and sisters."
Oh no.
But do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh, rather serve one another humbly in love. You know, Mike was being a douche right there. He really kicked me off the pod for a second.
I was trying to do solo layout. I haven't done it in a while. I'm sorry.
No, but you're good. Serve one another humbly in love. Love can get you a long ways. It's what a lot of things is built around. If you show love to somebody, you're going to get love brought back to you. Being sincere with it as well. Nobody likes somebody that is sincere in the moment, but in other instances, they go behind your back and talk behind your back. So show love to one another. I mean, I probably talked about that more than anything when I'm doing these verses, loving one another. It's because I really do try my best every single day to love everybody around me because it makes me a better person. And I think if I love the others around me, it'll make them a better person as well. And it helps our communication. And it just gets people in your corner, and you guys are able to do more things together rather than by yourself. So just keep working on it, keep loving each other. Even if they draft slow and Scott Fishbowl, that's okay. You still got to love them, all right?
That's right. And don't forget, Darnell Mooney has an ADP of 141 on DLF's app right now.
Ooh,
so that is a steal right there. At wide receiver 55, there's no way he is not going to outplay that ADP. When I say outplay, play means play. So if there's any sort of injury, that obviously does not factor in. Nate, until next time, where can we find you on Twitter?
You can find me at the NFL.
All right. And Chev, how about yourself?
You can find me at Chev Boyardee, boy with an I.
All right. And Philip, yourself?
What? My name is. You can find me at FF Porkman. My name is Pork, sir. And just like Chev said, love everybody. And I always tell the guys in the group chat, I love you guys all the time. I'm not afraid to ever say that. I'm a guy. Much love goes out to everybody, especially you, Mike. I love you so much.
Thanks, pal. And if you ever need to talk to anyone, Porkman's DMs are always open. Mine are not, but you could find me on Twitter at Rewind CEO. I would much rather you follow the show at Dynasty Rewind. Please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind. Don't forget our promo code for Underdog. It's just Rewind, all caps. Viridian Global, promo code Rewinder, 10% off all great gear. And until next time, everyone, be kind. Please rewind. Bob, have fun editing. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Dynasty Rewind. Please make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. And as always, be kind. Please rewind.